More Texas Business Radio.
With Matt Register and Jay Curry.
Welcome back to Texas Business Radio. TexasBusinessRadio.com is the website. I'm your host, Matt Register, here as always with Jay Curry over in the co-host chair. We're talking medical devices. The medical industry in Texas is big. Everybody with the means in the entire world that gets a bad diagnosis makes their way to Houston, Texas, to the Texas Medical Center. It's the place to go. But we're talking about devices. There are industries that surround the medical industry in Texas that provide devices, that provide services, that make the medical industry in Texas what it is. And we're going to highlight some of those guys today. We have in the studio, we have Tim Daugherty, who is the president CEO of Millar, which is a device company that makes pressure sensors. Coming from the energy sector, we understand pressure sensors. This is the identical thing, except really small.
Much smaller.
You put it in brains and hearts, right? Tim, welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. Glad to be here.
So talk to me a little bit about Millar.
So Millar is a 47-year-old Texas-based company, and we manufacture precision medical devices with the focus of improving high-fidelity clinical evaluations and advancing medical science understanding around the world. So our goal is to improve patient outcomes and help scientists learn more about the medical world as a whole. And we do this through developing pressure-enabled catheters, pressure volume systems, implantable telemetry devices, and importantly, partnering with OEM companies to take the Millar pressure sensor and our wireless power technology and incorporating into their own devices.
Now, very simply, just to make sure I understand this, you're talking about very, very small, tiny sensors that are standalone. They're wireless. They don't need wires. That you're now able to implant these things places that they couldn't before.
Correct.
And what is the application of that? As practically speaking, at what point, when are your devices used, and what problem do they solve?
So our primary market as Millar is the cardiovascular market. So people undergoing heart failure. These are cardiologists doing clinical research or working on their own new device. And so they utilize our pressure sensor that's placed at the end of a catheter. They place it right inside the heart, or we have neuroscience that place it right inside the brain. So after traumatic brain injury, they want to know what's the pressure inside your head. Do they need to relieve the pressure?
That becomes pretty important to them,
It does.
Right?
It's something you need.
So, and this device tells them the pressure's too much. They know to go relieve that pressure. And,
Correct.
So it solves a lot of problems for a lot of people. Is that now? Some of the technology in there is pretty special and is used in other devices. People are coming to you wanting to use some of that technology. Tell me a little bit about because you have wirelessly powered. So walk me through that.
Yeah, so that's relatively new to the company. In 2011, we acquired a company in Auckland, New Zealand, of all places, and they specialized in the transfer of power wirelessly. So there's companies developing heart pumps or other devices, and they want to implant it below the skin. And the number one cause of infection and death with those devices is infection around the drive line. And so the idea is we want to eliminate that drive line, deliver power to the device wirelessly, so it can be fully implanted. The patient can go around their business, and when they need to, basically sit down, recharge the device, and then get up and walk around. And so as a company, we're trying to take that wireless power technology and working with other companies developing heart pumps and other devices to help them take that to market.
Wow, this is very interesting stuff, and this is used more places than I thought. This is pretty fascinating. Talk to me a little bit about the device industry in Texas. Actually executing medicine, right? The docs and the hospitals and the medical centers in Texas are absolutely world class. The development ecosystem for the devices, though, is not quite there. Yep. Tell me a little bit about what you're seeing in that.
Yeah, so it's an interesting conundrum. You've got the best medical center in the world right here in Houston, but you don't have a huge plethora of startups or established device companies. There's a few of us here that have been here a long time and continue to work with the Med Center and other people around the world. But we are seeing a change. We're seeing more investment. We're seeing, for example, Johnson & Johnson's J Labs getting started here in town. So you're seeing that kind of ecosystem of people supporting the startups and the bankers and investment coming to help leverage what we've got here with the Med Center. And we really look forward to that because we want to see the device industry in Houston and in Texas as a whole grow, because selfishly as a company, we'd love to be able to recruit more talent from people here in town. And so we're following it anxiously, as well as we're here to support and help other companies grow as much as we can.
Yeah, so every company kind of benefits from that, right? When the ecosystem is here.
What about funding? I mean, this has got to be expensive, and we're a capitalistic, how do you get the funding? You've got a kind of interesting story about it.
Yeah, so as a private company, we've traditionally always done all our product development and R&D out of cash flow. So that's challenging.
Tough.
It is challenging, and we chose to play in a FDA-regulated environment, which makes it more challenging. So for us, we look for opportunities from grants, whether it's the NIH or Department of Defense. So we try to say we're developing a novel technology. Sometimes we partner with other companies here in town, combine our two technologies, and we'll go and apply for NIH funding to show how those two technologies will improve patient outcomes long term. And that is a source of funding for us as a company.
Well, and it's interesting. There's a lot of people that have problems they're trying to solve. Department of Defense, being a former infantry guy, well understand the need to improve the ability for docs on as close to the front line as humanly possible to be able to get the data that they need to be able to make decisions,
Correct.
Right? And what you're finding is some of this technology you guys have developed is very applicable to that, correct?
Correct, yeah. So we see our wireless platform and our pressure sensing capability as something where for some applications on the battlefield, we're looking at solutions where we can give those guys a quick way to diagnose injury, make a decision fast, and even monitor that pressure over time wirelessly, so that when the patient finally gets evacuated and lands at a hospital, they've got a record of what happened during that transport. So
a big part of this is bringing technology into this medical devices and making them smaller and using, instead of wires, using the wireless, and really staying at the state of the art, both in the medical devices and medicine, but also just in the general technology field and trying to merge those together. That's got to be a real challenge.
Yeah, and I think we love to leverage what's going on in consumer technology. You see cell phones getting smaller, everything's getting faster. So we love to take what other industries are doing and apply it to what we're doing as much as possible, because we're, as an FDA-regulated group, devices sometimes lag behind the state of the art, but as a company, we're trying to keep up with that as fast as we can.
Well, hey, God bless America. You find a hole and fill it, right? Find a need, and that generally pays well if you can find a solution to somebody's problem. And everybody is constantly looking for ways to improve patient outcomes, and that's exactly what you guys do on a daily basis, right?
Yep.
So we talked a little bit about Texas versus the United States. Talk a little bit. You're worldwide, right? What are you seeing going on outside the U.S.?
Yeah, so we sell in the U.S. and Europe. And we see the U.S. as the number one market to go after, with Europe as a close second. But what we really see is Asia, especially China, as a growing market for us. So we know that's something we've got to factor into our future, because there's going to be a time where the number of cases over there will dwarf what's going on in the U.S. And so we've got to be ready to go after that. And as part of that, we've opened an office down in Sydney, Australia, as our Asia Pacific office to leverage for that for the future. So we want to use that to springboard.
Got to be big, huh?
Correct.
Got to be big future there.
Well, and I tell you what, that opens up a whole nother can of worms when you're talking about different regulatory agencies in different areas, and you guys got to get smart on how to get that stuff passed and able to be used all over the world, I guess, huh?
Yeah, and the standards are different, but they're harmonizing and coming together. But it is a challenge always, because one country's different and has a different requirement. So it's just part of the business in medical devices.
So cardiologist, neurologist, who else uses your product?
So we did recently expand our indication for use for compartment pressure. So we're looking at some orthopedic applications for lower extremity injuries, providing better data there, as well as airway studies and sleep studies. So pulmonologists and people looking at sleep apnea, for example, research in that area.
Interesting. Hey, very, very interesting stuff. I'm not a medical guy, but it's fascinating to me. And this is a industry in Texas that impacts a lot of the economy in Texas.
All over Texas, absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt. Tim Daugherty, President and CEO of Millar out of Houston. Thank you for joining us very much.
Thanks, guys.
A wonderful story.
Yep, and Millar.com. Guys, we're going to have that linked right from TexasBusinessRadio.com if you want to learn more about this very interesting company. Thank you very much for joining us. guys, we do have to go pay some bills. We got to go earn some money ourselves. So we're going to be back right after this break. We're talking medical devices. We had a whole lot more. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after this.
There's much more where that came from.
At TexasBusinessRadio.com.
Now open in Missouri City. Primeway Federal Credit Union is open to everyone with all the financial solutions you need. Checking and savings with access to over 50,000 ATMs nationwide. Home equity loans, mortgages, and auto loans. Plus, our mobile app makes banking on the go a breeze. Everything you need at great rates. Invest in your life today. Primeway Federal Credit Union, now open in Missouri City. Come see us.